Yeah, everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to Railroad Tiles. This is a game by Horrible Games. Kind of see their logo down here. This is a sequel, standalone new game based off the Railroad Inc. series they did, which I've done videos for in the past. But basically, the idea is you are connecting in this game, you're connecting tiles together to form various either railways or roadways, and then you're scoring points based on that. So each player is kind of drafting tiles against each other. You're making your own separate little world. Um, so there's not a ton of direct player interaction with each other. Outside of it might be maybe like I want this tile and somebody else wants that tile, and you're kind of taking the tiles that somebody else might want. But other than that, you're just trying to like in your own way build your own little thing, connecting different railways together, different roadways together, and then there's other challenges you can do to score points by getting like longest railways and stuff like that. And you lose points if you have things that don't either go off the edge of the board or don't connect together. And then the collector's edition here is we're also going to have all of the expansions that came with the game. So we're going to have stuff where you can add like lakes and canals and forests and deserts and farmlands, plus a bunch of other different things that add more different things for you to do. So if you're familiar with Railroad Inc., which is a roll and write game, you roll dice, and it told you what to kind of draw down your little board. It's the same idea of the game. This is instead uses tiles. But they do have some different aspects to each other. I'm not going to compare them in this video. But there's going to be a series of videos for this. We're going to go over everything that's in here. So we're going to go through the core game, then we're going to go through each expansion separately in its own little video to make sure it has time. But I wanted to show off the core collector's edition in the box because there are three different ways you can buy the game. The collector's edition, which has every single thing in here, has all the expansions, as well as an additional fifth player expansion. So if you want everything, this is probably what you want to pick up. There's also the Kickstarter exclusive core set, which has one additional like mini expansion added into it, and some screen printed miniature meeples, so they kind of look a little bit cooler. So kind of look at that in a little bit. And then you get the retail version, which just has the regular stuff, and then you can buy all the expansions separately. Then there is also the world. Is it the world? I think it's the world market set. I actually pop this open quick. The world expansion, which was the stretch goals. It had a little extra bonus stuff in there for kickstarting, and then it had all the stretch goals, but that will be available in retail as well. So there's the only thing that's 100% exclusive to like Kickstarter for this will be like the additional promo pack, which actually this might actually be sold by itself later on as well. So you might be able to purchase this because it does have a UPC and stuff. So this is how everything comes if you buy it. If you buy it in the collector box. But the fifth player stuff, which again might eventually be sold by itself. So I don't know if there's anything that's 100% exclusive. But I want to shop with the collector box just if you are looking at getting this, as opposed to buying a bunch of different expansions. So there's the core set, which will have all our different routes, our tiles, our different tokens and stuff. But all the meeples are just pretty blank. So what we're going to get is, if I had a picture of them. So, like, here's an example of the screen printed ones for some of the expansions that will just extra colors on them to show that they look a little bit different. If you got the collector's edition, these guys will actually have little pictures on them too. Just kind of helps make them a little bit nicer, the ones you have to use all the time. We'll have the world expansion. We'll have a monuments expansion, countryside expansion, the desert expansion, the forest expansion, the lakes expansion, canals expansion, energy expansion, and then the actual extra promo tiles. So, yeah, a lot of different little videos we're going to go over. But if you get the big, giant collector's box, everything just comes together. So this could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. So here's all the extra stuff for the fifth player. It's extra tiles for each different set. So that's why it's if you buy it just for the idea of Like, I own the base game, I want to play the 5th player. It'll definitely work because I have some of the core stuff in there. But then I got these other ones that aren't going to really work unless you have the expansions. And then if we hop into the box here, we're going to have all the different tiles kind of broke up. So I'm guessing this is probably core tiles. There's 1 through 13 up there. And this side, it has tiles 117 through 122, so it's probably counting each different tile on there. And then we have all the different expansions, which they're all just kind of tossed in together. We have like the Kickstarter exclusive ones, which are the markets and stuff. Here's the world expansion punch board. If we grab this one here, we'll go through all these in separate videos. But we have the forest. We have the energy expansion, so all the rest of them are kind of mixed in here. It is nice that at least they're kind of broke down that way, so you can tell ahead of time what's what. And then if we go into here, we have a ton of baggies, so you can store out your meeples and your tokens and stuff if you'd like. Don't eat your silica gel. It's bad for you. We have a giant bag for putting all the tiles in, as well as each expansion comes with its own little smaller bag. And this is because as you're playing through the game, you're going to pull tiles out for the core set, and you're going to pull tiles for the expansions. They're not just all shuffled together because they want to make sure that you're getting core tiles to be able to actually play the game, and then the expansion ones when you need to get them. And then we have a bunch of meeples in here. So this is a big giant bag of all the different meeples for all the different sets. But I just wanted to kind of show this off. So what the idea is, when you're done, everything's just going to be in this big giant box. There's no separators, no dividers. So once you pop all these out, ideally you just put them each in their own little sack, and then you drop all the sacks in there. So we'll add on to the end of this video, after we've done all the other unboxings, we'll add them on to show like what this box will look like with all of them in there. But just wanted to show it off. If you get just the core set, it's going to only have stuff for the core set, and then each expansion will be its own little box. So then you can like grab the core box, then grab one of these, and just go ahead and be like, oh, okay, I'm going to play with the, energy expansion or the desert expansion. Just pick it up and pull it off your shelf in the box. I think they said there wasn't really any better way, and I don't know if there is a better way to like sort all these out. Because it's like, if you're all going to just have them in the bag anyhow, and each expansion is supposed to be in its own bag, I don't see any reason why to have them separate. The only thing I personally don't like meeples, or like tokens and stuff just in little baggies. That's never my thing. So I personally will probably end up buying something to like fix this and put them in different stuff eventually. I did kind of the same thing with the dice one too, is I have a little tray for all my dice instead of having just in like 10 different boxes. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and hop into the rules here. Alright, so what do we actually have in here for our set? So we're going to have a bunch of these tile sheets, which are going to have all of our different things in here. We're going to have our placement tokens, which we'll get to it when we go through the rules here in a minute. We have our prestige tokens, so we have ones for different colors in different amounts. That's just kind of like rewards for winning the game. Then we have all of our different spaces, which are kind of just greens and reds. So we'll have the railroad tracks, which are the ones with the lines in there. We'll have the roads. Then you have various stops and stations. You have like different station houses you can get to. You have different spots that certain different type of your meeples. So we have like our peoples, our travelers. We have our cars, which are going to go by roads. And then we have our trains, which will go by railroad. And then we have our character meeples for our 4 players. And then some pawn stars for different things. So yeah, what we're trying to do is some of these things is spawn in different areas. We'll look at the rules and see what they are. What we want to do is be doing stuff like this. Is connecting these roads together. Can't connect railways to roads, but you can connect all the railways together. So you're going to be doing these. If we flip these over, they're all double-sided. I think they're the exact same on both sides, though. So what it is looking like. Yeah, so it's like they're the same on both sides, so that's not a big deal there. That's just so you can just pick them up. But when you place them down, you can rearrange them other ways. So, yeah, we got all the different tiles on here. So So we got a couple different sheets there. So you have crossways in multiple different ways. Yeah, so very, very cool. We'll take a little bit closer look at each one after we look at the rules, so we kind of understand what some of the different things do. Then we have some here that are a little bit more complex. They have some different symbols and different stuff on there and tell you what to do. I believe these might be challenge tiles. So they're going to end up getting you extra things to do. We have roundabouts and stuff, so that's pretty cool. We have stations, which is how we set up the board. So cool. We want to just kind of look at what the different mechanics in there were. So yeah, so routes, we have 26 objective tiles, 64 prestige tiles, 21s, 23s, 16 10s, and 8 20s. There are 2-player token and our bag. So how do we play the game? So very simple. Set up, shuffle all the route tiles inside the big giant cloth bag. Place the station board on there. Shuffle all placement tokens face down, and then create your face down pile close to the clock space. So these are our placement tokens again. So we're gonna shuffle them down, and have them ready to place on there. Create a pool of cars, trains, travel, or pawns. Create a pool of prestige tokens. Determine starting order by putting your guys in the railway station. So then we'll have our big railway here. So you have a guy in each different spot. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if we actually pop this out and we link it to the other part of the station, it kind of goes like a little puzzle. Now, it has only one side. So it only wants to go the one direction. On the bottom, you're going to notice there are different numbers for, there's one for 4-player, but there's a 2, a 2, a 3, and a 3. That's just going to kind of have to do with for how you get to pick which pieces you get. So starting tiles. Reveal and set aside as many route tiles from the clock bag as players in the game. Then reveal tiles must have different path configurations. I have 2 tiles have the exact same identical path, a double highway curb or a railroad T-junction. Return one of the bag and draw another. Starting tiles will be selected at the start of the tile. Each player starts with 1 star pawn, and then reserve, and then place the rest in the common pools. If you're playing a 3 or 4 player game, the 2-player token is not used. And then for 10, we have this. Your first game, return the objective tile to the box. Otherwise, the rules on page 10 for how objectives work. So it's also fun when you have a mechanic in a game that, like, hey, here's an advanced rule you can play with. Don't play it just for now. Learn the game and then come back. So what's the game overview? Consists of 8 rounds. Your objective is to construct the most efficient network of highways and railroads, strategically connecting your paths to ensure seamless travel for trains, cars, and travelers, while also forming groups of tiles to create cities. So in round 1, update the placement tokens and reveal the route tiles to create the drafting pool. Tile selection. Choose a set of tiles from the draft. Place them in your player area. Pawn placement. Populate your area with cars, trains, and travelers. End of the round, determine the next player. So how do we do the round setup? Reveal tiles from the clock bag until they fill all the columns below each station. Each column must contain as many tiles as a number of square icons. So, for like this one that has 2, you put 2, 2, 3, 3, and 4. So what's the idea of that? It's basically, yeah, wouldn't you want to want the most? Possibly. But there's reasons why you're going to take some over the other. Then reveal the topmost placement token from the clock tower. Placing it in the waiting room. The immediate space below the clock tower. If the waiting room is already occupied by another token, the obstructing token moves to the left space in the active area. If it's occupied as well, keep pushing tokens to the right. When all spaces are occupied and new tokens reveal, the last one is pushed outside the border and moved from the game. So we're going to take our little placement tokens. I'm going to grab one here. So on the back side, they're going to have a little clock. I'm going to flip this board actually this around the other way, so it's kind of tilted up towards us. So what we're going to have done is we're going to take this, we're going to flip it there. It's going to give us one of those, and we're going to grab a couple of different tiles. So I grab some stuff from sheet 1 here. I'm not going to place all of them down, but we'll grab a few just so we can kind of see what's going on here. And then you'll place a few in each one of these. I only got a couple for each one, so we'll just do that for now. Again, not the exact number, but just as an idea of what the board should look like. In a two-player game, you not place any tiles in the leftmost column. So you're playing with less players, use less things so people have more option to get more tiles. Only at the start of the first round, before selecting the tiles described, the players play in reverse order. Starting, each player places, select one starting tile, and each places it in front of them. So you get a starting tile. Following turn order, identify the order of the pawns in turn order. On your turn, you must choose a column of route tiles. Move your pawn to the top of the chosen column. Take all the route tiles on the column shown. If any star pawns are on your chosen column, you take them as well. You must then immediately place the route tiles in your player one by one area. To place the route, you need to follow these placement rules. So each connected tile you place must connect to one side at least one. They can be flipped or they're mirrored or rotated as desired to better fit your plan. B, connect similar to similar. Each side of the tile must match the side of any other tile it touches. Railroads must be connected to railroads. Highways must be connected to highways. Empty to empty. You cannot connect a railway to a highway. You cannot connect an empty either to an empty side. So empty side has no roads or anything poking off of it. One could have a highway, a railroad, one could have empty. So this is a field tile and a town tile, which has lots of buildings in it. And then there's the pinpoints for the 4 different things on the station. Each of the 4 sides can show a different side: highway, railroad, empty. Depending on the background, it must be a field or town. Now, when you get into expansions, there's going to be more and more different things that can be classified as. You must place all the tiles you pick this round. If you cannot connect the tile in any way, however, you must discard it. So that would be as if there's absolutely, for some reason, no roads. Like, you only have roads and empty spaces available. And for some reason, all your tiles are 4-sided railroads, right? That's all you have left. You wouldn't be able to play it. And just twice the whole game, you can decide to reject the tile before placing. This is useful to keep believing, causing more harm than good. Keep it in front of you to keep track of your rejected tiles. So you have twice you can decide not to. So basically, this is how it's going to work. Then as the first player, according to turn, she chooses to collect the 3 tiles in the second column. She moves her orange pawn to the top of that column. Now the guy must connect the tiles in any way she prefers, unless she follows the connecting sides. She places those 3 tiles down. Then round 2 example. In the next round, Diana is the second player according to the turn. She chooses to collect the 3 tiles in the second column. Now she must connect them to the second one. So this is her second round, not the second player getting to go. As you can see then in this one, the first player was the green person, so they picked this group first, and then she gets what's kind of left over. Pawn placement. After all players have placed their tiles, check the placement tokens in the active area. For each placement token in the active area, each player may take 1 pawn of the corresponding type from the general pool and place on any tile they have with a matching empty pinpoint. You're not limited to the tiles you pick this round. If you do not have any matching pinpoints, you cannot benefit from the placement. So yeah, pick one for each one of those. The one that has 1 lets you do 1 of 2, and some also have a flag icon. Ignore a symbol if you're not playing with objectives. So after all players have placed their tiles, check the placement tokens in the active area. Okay, so that would be this guy. So we have red 1, because that's the one in the active area. That's in the waiting area. So these are the active areas. Check as they get pushed over into these 2 spots, and then you'll start activating them. They take 1 pawn of the corresponding type from the general place and place on any tile they have a matching pinpoint. So as you place new ones, so if I had grabbed this one, I'd be able to place one of these 2 on this tile. So on and so forth. So when placing pawns, you immediately score prestige points described below. Card placement. Score 1 point for plus 1 point for each other car that's connected on this pawn's pinpoint only through highways up to a maximum of 5 points. Trains, score 1 point for placing the train, then 1 point for each other train that's connected to this pinpoint through railways up to a maximum of 5. And then traveler placement, score plus 1 for each other travelers connected through this pawn through highways and or railways, freely switching only at stations. So the longer you connect your stuff together, the better it's going to be. So like as an example here, let me scooch this up. If this is me placing my tiles down, and I had, for example, those 4 tiles, starting turn, I had 1, and I placed 3 other ones, and I had the train. I could pick the train. If, like, later on, I had 3 trains out, I had 1 here, I had 1 here, and 1 here, or I had 1 here, 1 here, and I placed this one. I get 1 point for placing that train, and I get 1 additional point for this one connecting. I would not get 1 for this because these railways aren't connected. They're connected by a road. Same thing if I just place 1 car. That's where you'd want to be doing something more like this. And then now if I had a train here and I place this one, I get 1 point for that, and then 2, and then 3 points. We also notice this way is I got this 1 car that can't do anything. You know, and that's basically good. And then, like, these were my other tiles. Like, this is my other tile. To place this, I have no other roads. So I'd have to place it some other direction. So, like, connecting out that way, starting a new railroad that way, or I could connect this way. I could go this way, but that might potentially block off that. Start one way over here, but they're not going to connect into that necessarily. Alright, each connected pawn of the same type beyond the 5 is still worth 5 prestige points, and your pawns do not interrupt the connection. Okay, station. Unbroken path of either one or more highways and railroad spawns over one or more tiles referred to as a network. Stations allow you to link highway networks and railroad networks so travelers can switch between them. They do not interrupt networks for scoring placement. So now there's a 3rd round, and there are 2 placement tokens in the active area, a traveler and the car. So those guys are in the extra areas. Dan places a traveler on the tile. She just placed this round. She places her traveler there. And she places, it says there are no other pawns on that network. She scores 1 prestige. She also places her car pawn. She's previously placed a car, the pinpoint available. She finds inside space. There's already another car on the same highway. So she places this one. So she gets that and that. So she gets 2 prestige points. So 1 for the new place car and 1 for the second car. So just describe that. It's very simple. End of the round. When all players are done placing their pawns on their tiles, the round is over. Add 1 star pawn to the column of the tiles not chosen by any player will serve as an extra incentive for the next round. Whoever chooses that column will also collect the star pawns that can be added to their reserve. For each placement in the token in the active phase, during the pawn placement, you can discard 1 star pawn from your reserve to place 1 pawn of your choice, car, train, or travel, instead of the one indicated by the token itself. So this would mean, like, if, for example, we have just a person on there on my first turn, but I already have a couple of railroads, right? I could use a pawn to a star to swap it over to a railroad and score a bunch of railroads if I'm not doing stuff with people that much. So that gives you a little extra advantage there. In a 2-player game, 2 columns to the left go instead of 1. 4 plays a star pawn, flip the second player token like a coin. The result indicates which of the 2 remaining columns will be discarded. The left or the right, discarding those back to the game box. 2 columns to the left instead of 1. Oh, 2 columns will be left instead. Before it plays a star pawn, flip the 2-player token. Result indicates which of the 2 remaining columns will be discarded. So if you're playing with a 2-player game, right, you're only going to be using 1, 2, 3, 4. So player 1 took this one, player 2 took this one. You're going to flip that token, you're going to discard either left or right. And whichever one you discard, then you put the star on the other one. So I mean there's only 1 incentive for the next player out of the next bunch. So you can't both get an incentive token. To start, the leftmost player spawns in the drafting area at the bottom of the station board. Each player puts their pawn in the leftmost area available, and the turn order preserved in the current round. So, at the end of the round, this one wasn't taken, so you put a token there. Then, whoever took the smallest one gets to go first. So, taking 4 tiles, if I flip back to the big board here, So if you take 4, you have a lot more options, a lot more stuff to play. But that also means you're going last next turn. If you take a smaller one, means you get to go first the next turn. So that way your next turn, maybe you could then select the 3 or 4. But that also depends on which ones get skipped, because you can also have first chance of getting one of them star tokens as well. Yeah, so very cool. Alright, end of the game. The last round begins. The last placement token is moved away to the waiting room, revealed the exclamation point at the end of the round. The final score is calculated. The player with the most points wins. In addition to points you score for each pawn you place during the game, you score additional points based on the city presence on your map and the structures for your territory as follows. For cities, for each group of 3 or more orthogonally, which means up, down, left, right, tiles, you score 5 points. You don't get any additional points for cities larger than 3. So yeah, as long as you have 3 city spaces next to each other, you get 5 points. So if you have your entire map is just cities for some reason, you're not going to score necessarily any more additional points. The biggest rectangle. Find the biggest rectangle of tiles without holes in your territory. Score 1 prestige point for each tile. Counts part of this rectangle. Squares are also rectangles. And then ongoing penalty. Opening penalties. At the end of each path, it does not connect to any other path. It's called an opening. You all lose up to 5 openings, but you lose 1 prestige point for each exceeding that. For example, in this game, gang has 3 groups of 3 or more town tiles, forming cities, so she gains 15 points. So she gains just 3 here, so she gains 5 points, 10 points, 50. But there's only 2 there, she doesn't gain that point. Excuse me. Then she has her biggest rectangle, which is a 4x4 tile, for a point of 16. Because now she could count this way: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then and then 5 and 5. That's only 15. So she wants the full 16. It has to be a full rectangle, so she can't go like, oh, I'm gonna do this and go like an L shape and miss these 2 tiles there. So yeah, there's So if she would have placed 1 more tile up here instead of one of these 4 over here, or that one, she would have had an extra 3 points on there, or 4 points, because she would have had the extra 4 there, which is that's not as good as getting 5 points for this. So basically, if this is her last tile, she could have thrown it up there just for the sake of just getting that. And she counts her opening for a total of 7. So she has railway, road that ends there. She has a road and a road and a road and a road that end there. So she has 7 total. So she loses. She minuses 5. 5 of them are ignored. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And she gets minus 2 penalty. So kind of closing off and things is definitely a thing. So that's the basis of the game. They just keep playing, making your thing. Then we have the objectives. Once you play a few games, you're familiar with the core rules. We suggest adding objectives to your game. They grant additional points if you fulfill specific placement conditions. Each set includes 4 identical tiles. Each player receives 1 tile from each objective play set. For the game, objectives you'll set up with 3 sets at once. Choose a randomly determined 3 sets of objective tiles to play with. Give 1 tile from each set to each player. So the core is going to have a bunch of different ones. They're going to have, 7 different ones? So you have some different options. You only play 3 of them. During selection, if you're placing a waiting token shows a flag icon, you must place one of your objective tiles, if you have any available. In addition to the round's route tiles, you can freely choose which objective tiles to play. Placing objective tiles follows the same placement as regular route. If you do not place any objective tile, you must discard one of your unplayed objective tiles from the box. So if one's in the waiting room, it shows a flag, you have to also place one of your objective tiles. So you never play more than 1 per turn. During the endgame, you earn 5 prestige points for each objective which you have fulfilled the scoring condition. And then each one will have a different thing. Like City Hall, for example, so you must have at least 2 adjacent tiles in each of the 4 orthogonal directions. So it wants to have at least 2 tiles in each other direction. Metropolis must be part of a town with at least 5 tiles. The central station must be connected to at least 5 stations, counting only railway paths. Stadium must have at least 3 traveler pawns in the tiles that surround it. Airport must be placed in the same row or column as one town that is part of a city. Temple must be doesn't have any cars or train points on the tiles that surround it. And then the pinpoints. It can have the pathways, just not the pinpoints itself. The gas station must be part of a continuous path that is connected highway segments. In case of looping paths, the same segment cannot be counted more than once. So yeah, I just want to do a little quicker look at those. So if we just look at those a little bit closer, they kind of show on there. So your square, you have to have 2 connected that way. You have to have 5 stations by railway. They kind of give you the little ideas of what they have to do. And on the back, they're not double-sided because they don't get shuffled into the bag. But that's super helpful that they give you the little notes on those. Then the last thing to kind of look over for rule-wise, there's also a solo mode. So basically the idea of solo mode is you're just playing against yourself. You use 3 columns, one with 2 tiles, one with 3, and one with 4. If you choose a 2-tile column, you also get a star spawn. You can add star spawn to that column as a reminder. If you choose a 3-tile, you also get a prestige point. You can add 1 prestige point to the column as a reminder. After selecting your tiles, discard all remaining tiles in all the columns. You don't have to place any star spawn column. Solo mode includes 15 challenges, 1 with specific missions, and limitations of 3 scoring thresholds. At the beginning of a solo game, choose a challenge. You'll be able to achieve only this challenge during the game. If you break the limitation or fail to complete the mission, you score 0 points. If you exceed the specific scoring threshold, you receive the achieved mark. So there's just a bunch of different things you're trying to do. You're going to gain more stars for getting more of them done. So yeah, it's basically just trying to see what you can kind of connect, do. So basically that's the end of the game. So the big thing is making cities of 3 or more, but you don't necessarily have to make a megatropolis with everything together, but you definitely can. Biggest rectangle points and having opening penalties, and then you gain points for having your different little miniature characters on there. Now, if the little pinpoint things with the meeples is too confusing to start with, you could definitely probably skip that. For the first round, first couple of games, you can just work on placing the tiles. Figure out how the tiles are going to work, do that. And you can always add that in, then add the challenges in later. You could even add the challenges in without adding the miniatures or the little meeples, if you really wanted to, because even any of the tiles on there, the challenges, they say they just can't have the pinpoint on there, so you just have to keep an eye out for the spots, but you wouldn't have to do the extra work of adding stuff. Now, couple of things I do want to note in here before we take a quicker just look at all the different tiles and stuff is, they do mention like a player drafts their tiles and then they place everything. It doesn't. It kind of makes it sound like player 1 should go, they place all their stuff. Then player 2 should go, they place all their stuff. There's nothing wrong with it. Be like player 1 drafts, player 2 drafts, player 3 drafts, player 4 drafts. Then you all place your tiles simultaneously, like you're all working on it at the same time. That's probably the more efficient way to do it. You could do it the other way and watch each person as they do theirs and kind of see what they're doing. Like, ooh, I'm going to watch you. I'm going to watch you. But since you can't interact with their board directly, there's nothing like using to sabotage it. If you're playing like more of a friendly game with each other or a teaching game, it might be worth waiting so you can maybe help them out if they have an issue or if you see something better. You might want, if you want to help them out by pointing out in case they missed thing, or they put something possibly in the wrong spot. Like they weren't paying attention and they stuck, and they were just connecting stuff really quick and they accidentally set this one in that direction. Or, who knows, you could point that out. Or again, if they miss their pinpoints. But you could go through and place all your tiles and then be like, okay, now that everyone has all their tiles placed, let's look for the person. Then everyone puts a person down somewhere on the board. Then go from there. Then do each step together as a giant group, which I would recommend. The other thing that's going to come up is the thing for the cities, or any of these tiles. So obviously, if you're doing the rectangle, it's going to be the rectangle. But for cities, it's going to be like, what if you have cities touching each other? So at what point, says a group of 3 or more, says you don't gain any for additional cities larger than 3. So if I had one more tile right here, someone would maybe argue, well, I have a 3 here, I have a 3 here, and I have a 3 here. And that's not how it works. You have to have them separate. So overlapping them doesn't get you additional points. So yeah, if you had, all 3 of these right here, you wouldn't get a 3, a 3, a 3, a 3 here, a 3 here, a 3 here, this 3 here. You wouldn't get all that. You'd have one giant city that's worth 3 points. So it kind of gives you that mentality of separating stuff out a little bit more. And now again, this kind of goes against some of the challenges because like you do have Metropolis needs to be 5 town tiles. The City Hall has to have at least 2 more adjacent tiles each direction. But it doesn't have to be city tiles, just 2 more adjacent tiles. But you could do a city 2 ways and then do something like, basically you can't have the town hall at the edge of the map, is what it doesn't want. And then as other expansions come out, they'll have other things that'll make more complications and that stuff as well. So some of it you just kind of have to play around with and just see what the rules are. The other thing we're going to look at in this this video as well is we're going to look at the hospital and local market promo tiles because they were part of like the exclusive Kickstarter stuff. And what this is just going to give us is more objectives. It's going to give us 4 hospitals and 4 local markets. Just gives us 2 more things to choose from. And we'll look at that at the end. I'm going to do a quick pause. We're going to pop out some of these tiles and we'll look at each one a little bit closer. Alright, so I want to go through all look over all the different pieces, quick means there. So I'm not going to dump out all of them, but we have 18 of the peoples, the travelers, the cars, and the trains, of course. And again, these are the screen printed ones. If you don't have the at least the Kickstarter edition, not even the collector's, but the Kickstarter edition, they'll just look like this. So keep that in mind. That you might not get the fancy looking ones. The game still plays the same. And then, of course, we have our 10 Pawn Stars and our 4 things. So why there's only 10 of these? Because you gain one per each round. So then after each round, someone will have it, and they're just going to have to keep using them. That's the idea. It's not just to hoard on to them. Then we have the 2-player token. As one side's left, one side's right. I'm not going to bring out all the prestige tokens, but we have, big stacks of them. Yeah, just the different colors. They have all the different shapes. Everything else is the same amount. There's all the different colors. And then we have all the different tiles. So, for the most part, most of the tiles, there are either 2 or 3 of each different one. The exceptions are a couple of them are, if we go through the town stuff first, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 8 of the town tiles. I have this kind of set up bad, so I can't zoom in yet. Just a sec. I did not plan this right. Okay, I zoom in on those. So, yeah, we have 8 different ones. So on the front to back, they're basically the same. So we have a little kitty up on that side. If we flip it over, kitty's still there. This is general town tiles, so you can connect towns next to each other quicker without having to, always have a city running through. But each one's going to have its own little different artwork, which is really cool. Again, they could have just made one tile and just left it, right? Here's one city tile. Here's one this. The fact is they made 8 different little artworks for each one. I think is a really cool idea. Definitely helps make the game look a little bit more neat when you get done with everything, too. And that's the same for most of the tiles. They could have been done 4 of one, 4 of the other, but they didn't. So in the city tiles we have, again, we have 8 of those. We have 3 of just the railroad running straight through it. Again, each one's a little bit different. We have 3 of them with just a road going through it. we have 3 road cross 4-ways. And then we have 3 railroad 4-ways as well. So we're going to get all of those. So yeah, lots of stuff where it's going to be lots of the same things over and over again. Are very similar. So we have 3 with a curve in it. Now, depending on which way you turn this, it's going to be one direction or the other. But again, you can keep rotating it. And then we have 3 of them with the roads. So those are all the city ones that have 3. Everything else only has 2. And we're going to get the rest of the combinations now. So now we're going to get one with a station in the middle, which switches to a road to a railroad. This is so you can connect more things together, and we're going to get 2 of those. We're also going to get the corner one. We are going to get some of the T-shaped ones. So we're going to have road that goes straight through with a bottom or top or side, depending on which way you angle it. Railroad. We're going to have the exact opposite. Railroad going straight through. We'll have kind of like the corner with the road on the one side. And then we'll have the opposite one with the road with the railway on the other side. Oh, I did mix these up. So, nope, I did that right. Did I mess that up? Do we not have... Yeah, then we have a railway that's just one to the other. Or we have the corner one that's like that too. And then we have our 4-ways. It'll make the 2 different shapes there. Or we have the 2 that go straights. So those are all different town spots. So now when we get to the... So now what they could have easily, again, have done is they could have just made all of the field or the country, the route tiles, I guess the field tiles, they could have made them basically the exact same thing. They could have had them been, here's 2 straights, here's 2 this, here's 2 that, but they're not. They're very different, which I think is also very fun. So we have a bunch that we have a couple of. So we have the 3-way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 8 of these. Again, all with different artworks. This is again so you can branch it off in a T shape. So look at all of these guys. And then we have these 8 of them with the railroad tracks, the same idea. I'm just trying to see which ones we have a bunch of here. So we have a bunch of different ones here. So now you'll notice none of the town ones had the people pinpoints in them. So all the pinpoint ones come from people on the outside of town. So if you just build giant towns, you're not going to have any pinpoints. So that's where we're going to start getting some of these in there. So we're going to get a railway crossing with the travelers. This is so a traveler can stop and get picked up with from the railroad. We also have one for the train, which makes sense. Then on the same idea is we'll have a road. So I have it upside down, I guess. Guess it doesn't really matter. We're picking up travelers, and then we'll have one for a car. Or 2 for a car, so 2 for each. So we're going to get those different ones like that. We're going to get a bunch of stops. So these are ones where it ends the road somewhere. This can be very helpful so you don't have ones going off the board. So we'll have some for cars. We'll have some for trains. Then we will have some road ones for people, or the travelers. And I even like how they put the the traveler rest stop on different parts of the road, depending on which way you have this. And then we have ones like that for the railway, so they're getting picked up there. So we have 4 of each of those as well. Then, what would the countryside be without corners? So we'll have some road corners for cars, and some road corners for some people on them. And then we'll have the same thing. We'll have a railway with people, and railways with trains. And then to mix it up a little bit, we'll have the double corners. So that way you can connect like this and do S shapes, or you can make a circle, wrap it back around. But we'll have one for each of those. We'll have one for each of the railroads, or two copies each. And then we'll have 2 of one of each to get us around. So those are all of our basic shapes. Then we have the passover. So you have a road that goes over the train tracks. So you can, again, have mixed tiles on the board. And then we have some stations. So this is ones where you can swap in between. So it's not just towns where they swap in between. They do swap out in the country as well. So you have the straight one. And then we have the corner one. And then we will have 3 copies of our 4-ways. But one's a railway. And then we'll have 3 copies of where one is a road. And then our last 2 set of tiles are going to be our just blank fields. So it's kind of interesting. We got a ton of ones for the town, but we only got 2 of the ones for the field. So they don't want you to kind of make just a bunch of fields, I guess. Which you don't gain any points for that, so I kind of get it. Then the last thing we have to look at for the core box is we have all of our objective tiles. Now, these are all 4 going to be the exact same artwork. And on the back, they're going to show an objective on there, so you know what set they belong to, and then they have the flag. Because then, like, as you buy expansions, they will have different pictures on the back, I'm sure. And then just to kind of again, down the bottom, it's going to say, when it says it's a metropolis. It doesn't say what it is, but it's a metropolis according to the book. So you have to have 5 tile towns next to it. 5 city tiles. We have the stadium, which is, stadium. So it must have at least 3 travelers somewhere in this. 3 traveler pinpoints somewhere on the outside of it. So it's kind of neat there. We will have the, which one's this one? The central station. So it must be connected to these 5 railroads, which the 3 sides shouldn't be too hard to do. We have the gas stations, which have to be connected to at least 8 highways. It's only 2 sides, but definitely just string your highways along. We have our temple, which cannot have any car nor train pinpoints connected to the tiles around it. So you can connect other roads and railways, you just can't have one of the other ones right next to it. Which means if you put it next to a city, that's great. Because most cities don't have any tiles, but if you do it for the any of the other ones, the field ones, I think every single field one, it does not have a station in it. Actually, all of them. Yeah, every single field one is going to have a pinpoint, so you have to basically connect this to a city tile. Although, alternatively, you could connect it to another objective tile as well, because they don't have any pinpoints either. At least not these ones. Then we have the airport. Says, must be connected, must be placed in the same row or column as at least one town tile that is part of a city. So it has to be part of a city specifically. The city has to be 3 tiles. So if you don't have at least 3 tiles connected to it, it's not going to work. And then the last one we have is the city hall, which has to have at least 2 adjacent tiles in each of the 4 orthogonal directions. So now the little symbols down here do help reminder. You're still going to need the little booklet, probably as a reminder for scoring conditions. So I kind of wish, like I do like with these little expansion sheets, they gave you just a little tiny pamphlet you could hold that says what they do. You can have full channel. I kind of wish they'd made a smaller one for the core set as well, just because that way it'd be a little bit easier to keep track of that. Then we have our actual pawn tokens. So we have a car with a flag, car without a flag, train without a flag, person with and without a flag, and then we have 1 car, 1 person, or 1 train. So those are the different tiles we're going to get. Alright, the last thing I wanted to go through here was I want to look at the hospital and local market promo tiles. I didn't even notice this. So on the back of them, and I thought it was for like the set, like core set and that, it actually shows each one. So it shows like Central Station, or sorry, Metropolis, your stadium. So each objective has its own different picture on the back for what it is. So that way they're easy to shuffle up or whatever if you want to just grab like one of each or something and have them set aside, or if you want to make like something else. You can definitely do that. What we wanted to do is, here is the big bag. So here is all of the, see if I can angle this down so you can kind of see all of the tiles inside. I know it's kind of unfocused, but yeah, so we have a decent chunk if we threw them all in there. So they take up about, not even quite half the bag. But again, you're only supposed to be mixing in the core stuff. So they probably didn't need to make the bag that big. Alright, that is what we have for right now. I will add on a little bit at the end here. Once I went through all the expansions again, we'll kind of see how everything fits back into the box. With all the badges and stuff to sell the collector box looks. Otherwise, that's what we have for Railroad Tiles. Hope you guys enjoy the video. See you guys later. Bye.